I hope that you guys are doing amazing wherever you are in the world. My name is Shikha, and I welcome you to the Millionaire Hippie podcast. In this episode, I want to speak to you guys about curiosity. I think curiosity is one of those superpowers that human beings in general have. Everyone has curiosity. I mean, as children, you notice that if you have a child or if you've been around children, the main question they ask all the time is why? Why does it work that way? Why did that man do that? Why did that woman do that? Why did she say that? Why? I mean, they are constantly obsessively curious about the world, asking a billion questions and wanting all the answers. I think that kind of curiosity kind of gets quelled, maybe dimmed down a little bit as we get older, obviously, because perhaps we don't have the time to answer all those questions. Perhaps we just don't have the energy for it. Perhaps we've been told over and over again by, adults, stop asking all these questions, just accept what's around you. Or perhaps we just don't have the inclination to ask questions anymore because there's so many other better things to do, like watch TV or work or make money or whatever it might be. There's a billion reasons why your curiosity, if you are not as curious as you were as a child, has been dimmed down, right? I feel though, and I was sitting and thinking about this while I was journaling, it was really important because I realized, as an INFJ perhaps, but also as a human being in general, I have been constantly and avidly curious about everything. Thankfully, the internet appeared and the World Wide Web and thousands of articles online that can answer any and all questions that I have. And so I'm very lucky to live in a world like this. I mean, previous children didn't have that capacity. I mean, right now as a child of the world, and as a human being, I have the capacity and the capability to answer any question that I might have. For example, I was in a restaurant the other day and they were serving cultured butter. Now, I know butter, but I wondered, what's cultured butter? And instead of wondering about it or asking them about it, which is kind of embarrassing, or just thinking about it all the time and not being able to answer the question, which is so terrible, I just asked the question to Google. Google, what is cultured butter, by the way? Basically, cultured butter has probiotic cultures into it, live cultures, which is why it's creamier and beautiful. It's delicious. But that's not the point. The point isn't that it's delicious. The point is that I was able to ask a question. I was curious about the world. Instead of just accepting, okay, cool, this restaurant has cultured butter. Interesting. Instead of just accepting that fact, I actually asked an additional question. What is cultured butter? What does it do? Why does it matter if it's cultured? Is it tastier? Is it better for me? Does it make my belly feel better? Is it good for lactose intolerance? Blah, blah, blah. I mean, there's a billion questions that came up from that one situation. And because I'm lucky enough, as I said, to live in a world where there is internet, I just Googled it quickly and I figured out the answer, and it was really, really gratifying. But from that, I started thinking about the fact that I've always been a curious person. I mean, I asked my parents a lot of questions, and obviously I got the answer, stop asking all these questions. I don't have time to answer them, blah, blah, blah. Thankfully, as I said, around the time I was 13 or 14, the internet developed, and I had the capability eventually of looking everything up online, and I looked up a lot of stuff. I look up things all the time, every single day. I ask a lot of questions of Google. Thankfully, Google is one of those parents that doesn't mind and answers all of my questions without any kind of impatience or any kind of annoyance, which is really, 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 really good for me. But from this, I started wondering or thinking about how it would be to live in a world where everyone was so curious about everything that happens to them. The reason I really wanted to mention this as a separate episode is because it's really important for us to take everything that happens to us as a matter of curiosity. Not only because everything has meaning. Everything that happens to you has meaning, at least in my opinion. Nothing is a coincidence, and I realize that over and over and over again. I mean, even the smallest of things that are happening to you, you might think they're just happening randomly because there's no reason for it. But eventually, in hindsight, you'll realize everything stacks upon each other. Everything that's happening to you stacks upon each other over and over and over again, which means that everything that's happening to you and me and everyone on this planet, none of it is a coincidence. Everything is happening for a very important reason. Whatever that reason might be, you might not know the reason. But that's where the curiosity part of the thing comes up. That's where the curious nature or curious mind comes in. Because if you're just curious about everything that's happening to you, you look at everything as as having hidden meaning to it. It's not just happening to you. You're not just a victim of the world anymore, but you are actually an observer and a participator, if that's the right word. You are there and you're curious about everything that's happening to you because there's meaning to it. If someone knocks over that coffee cup that you were holding, that coffee that you've been looking forward to all day long, and they knock it over, it's not just because that person hates you or the universe hates you or the city is too crowded or the world is going to shit or humanity sucks, blah, blah, blah. That's not the reason. I mean, that might be the reason, but if you were curious and if you looked into it a little bit further, you would realize perhaps there is some hidden meaning to it. And that kind of curiosity really makes everything so much fun because I walk through the world looking for hidden meaning everywhere. Everything has a reason to it, and I'm constantly curious about what is that reason? Why is this happening? I wonder why this happened. I wonder why this happened instead of this. Why didn't this happen to me? Why did this happen at this time? Why did I decide to do that? Why did I decide to do this? Everything is a constant. I constantly question everything that happens to me. And it's so interesting to me because that kind of constant questioning answers a lot of questions for me. But not only that, it makes me feel like there's a higher purpose to everything that's happening. I'm not just an automaton and I'm not just a zombie. I'm not just a robot. I'm not just some random person that's been placed here just to go through the motions. Because I'm constantly curious and I realize there's so much hidden meaning to everything that's happening, and I realize this because I'm looking back and seeing all the hidden meanings, all the stacking of things over on top of each other, all seeing why everything happens for a particular reason, seeing that everything that's happened to me till now has happened for a really, really good reason. I see that and I realize that everything has been built for me, for this human experience. Everything that's happening is so that I can learn and become a better human being, become a better consciousness, a more awakened consciousness in general. If nothing is happening just because it needs to happen, or just nothing's happening because it should happen, or it's just a coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences at all. Nothing is random on this planet. I really want you guys to realize that fact. If you could just look back upon your life, you would see that everything is happening perfectly. I'll give you a really quick example, just because this example always boggles my mind. I worked for a company called Blueprint 4 years ago. And I worked with this individual, Sabuhi, really nice guy, Azerbaijani, but he lived in Turkey as well. And really smart guy. I mean, I was so gratified to work with such a smart human being. But more than that, he was the kind of person who believed that you could learn anything as long as you put your mind to it. So I didn't know anything about HTML coding, and I didn't know anything about Adobe Illustrator, so nothing about design at that point. That was 4 years ago. And Sabuhi, he's great, Sab is what we called him, and he was amazing. So he was always constantly telling me, don't rely upon me, because he was great at this stuff. I'll always be like, can you do this for me? He's like, don't rely upon me. Do it yourself. You can learn this stuff. And he'd constantly be sending me all these tips and tricks on how to do it. He would teach me once and then ask me to do it again. And at that point, I was thinking to myself, I'm never gonna be able to learn this stuff, and why does it even matter? But because of his guidance, I was able to gain an interest and a curiosity about this particular subject, which is design work and HTML coding. And I kind of got into it myself and started learning it by myself. Not an expert at all, obviously, but I can do the basics, right? Now, I did that and I left the job. I didn't think about it again at all. And then a couple of years later, I started obviously my own business. And I realized that I needed coding. I needed coding in order to build my website, basic coding. And I needed design work in order to do all the different pictures and animations and all the different things that I do for my website and my business, right? Now, if I hadn't had that job, and I hadn't had that colleague, and I hadn't had a person like that in my life who constantly prodded me and asked me to learn things on my own, and also if I didn't have the inclination or the curiosity for it, then at that point when I was running my business, I would have had to pay a bunch of people in order to do those animations or design work for me and the coding, or I would have had to learn it, which would have been really, really maybe too late or perhaps too annoying at that point, right? But because I had that instant in my life where I had learned it, when it came time to opening my business, starting all that stuff and doing all that work, it was easy. I built that website so easily in a way where I think to myself, I can't believe I'm writing all this code, and I can't believe I created this website on my own, and I can't believe that I'm doing all this design work on my own. And I literally was surprised. It was boggling my mind how this random thing that happened to me, I didn't even think about it twice. And while it was happening, I was really annoyed by it because I'm like, why can't you just do the work for me? Why do I have to learn this stuff? For God's sake, right? But now, when I was sitting there building my business, I realized, wow, that was so necessary. And it was absolutely not a coincidence that that person arrived into my life and showed me how to do that, so that at that point in life, I could do the work I need to do. And now I can do coding, basic coding, basic HTML coding for websites easily. I build websites all the time without an issue at all. And I do design work all the time without any problems. I do not fear it because Zab taught me, that man taught me that I don't need to fear it. I can learn anything that I want. I have no fear of technology anymore. If you give me some new software that I have to learn, I will spend the time that's necessary in order to learn it because I know I can figure it out. It might take a little bit of time, but I shall figure it out. But that's not a coincidence either. I mean, at that point, I did think, as I said, that it is annoying and perhaps really, really that the universe does not like me. But now, looking back upon all the different things that have happened to me, I realize that everything that's happening is happening for a reason. Everything. And if you just look back upon your life, you will see exactly the same thing. So that's what my advice to you guys is. Be curious about everything that's happening to you. Be curious about why it's happening. Why did that person splash you with water? Do you think you're supposed to walk slower? Are you not paying attention to the world? Why did your order come out wrong? Is it because you need to stand up for yourself? Or you need to speak up a little bit more? Or you need to be louder? Why did that person break up with you? Why did that friend not talk to you anymore? Why did that person call you? Why did that spammer message you? Whatever it might be. Always be curious about what is happening to you, because it is a bounty of information. It'll give you so much information about yourself, about where you're going, what's coming to you, what has come to you. It's just really, really interesting and fascinating. And also it gives you meaning and purpose in your life. I hope this makes sense to you guys. Thank you again so much for watching, for listening, for being on my podcast. I'm so grateful. I really appreciate all the support. If you guys have any questions at all, please message me at boomshikha@themillionairehippie.com, and I shall see you guys the next time around. Bye for now.